Well, today's dream job guest is somebody that I think any parent will want to listen to. Maybe you've heard from him already at his Instagram handle, Healthy Sports Parents, 100,000 plus subscribers talking about youth sports, specifically how to approach youth sports in ways that are healthy. And that is really hard to do for any parent who has sat in the bleachers lately, I think can attest. I want to say hello to Jonathan Carone. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I first happened across your Instagram account, a few months ago, and the number of your posts that I have bookmarked, saved, forwarded to friends and family about the topic of youth sports and healthy approaches to how we can make what at its core is one of the best parts of being a kid, but maybe not so much lately. You've been busy.
A little bit. So on that front, I got to tell you the story. I was up in Detroit a couple weeks ago at Project Play Southeast Michigan's annual summit. And I spoke up there, I gave a little talk. And afterwards, this guy came up to me. He has his phone open. He goes, "My boss sends me your stuff all the time." And so we took a selfie he's like, "You got to meet this guy." And so we took a selfie to send back to him, but he was with the Boys and Girls Club. And it's just one of those things that it is a felt need and pain point for families across the country. We were just talking before we start pressing record, like families of every shape and form across political aisles, across socioeconomic aisles, like everyone is feeling the same thing right now. And youth sports has always been one of the things that brings people together from different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, it's also bringing us together in the fact that, hey, this kind of sucks right now. And it shouldn't, and we want to do better for our kids. So how do we do it? And it's just, there's a lot of people getting involved right now to try to make it better, because I call it the youth sports resistance, because you've got private equity on one side trying to profit as much as possible. And then there's this other side of us called the youth sports resistance that are trying to keep it about kids and serving families. And how do we do that?
Well, I think you touched on a lot of points there, and there are so many aspects of this, so many layers to get into. But I think first things first, the fact that you're talking about this and you've seen an explosion in growth on your account, you mentioned in the past about a year and a half or so, you just started this thing last year, 2025, and here you are now on Instagram, 100,000 plus subscribers or followers who listen to your content, share your content, as you just alluded to, because I think there's something universal about this. If you are a youth sports parent at any level, whether you have been the parent that other people have noticed or you've seen it, and the craziness that is youth sports, I think that speaks to the demand in insight into what you're talking about, and that's why you've seen the kind of growth you've seen.
Yeah, it's like the story I tell. I started this platform. The first podcast dropped January 8th of 2025. The very next week, I did what has become my daily habit now of an Instagram reel straight to camera talking about something. And that reel got 6 million views across Instagram, TikTok. It wasn't even Facebook. So it was just Instagram and TikTok at the time. So I went from nothing to 25,000 followers in the course of like 2 weeks. And my goal for the entire year of 2025 was only 10,000 followers. So I went from nothing to something out of nowhere. It caught me completely by surprise. And what I have learned is, so I started with this hypothesis that most parents want to do better. They've just never been taught how. Mm-hmm. And so that was my kind of centering idea going into this. And I wanted to help people understand how to do this a little healthier. And what has been reinforced over and over the last 16 months is more parents want to do better. Too many don't, but more want to. And so I think it's just the loud minority that causes problems on the sidelines. But I truly believe most parents want to do this in the best way possible for their kids. It's just, no one gives us a guide when we sign our kid up for T-ball the first time or for little kids soccer. Like, no one says, hey, here's a guide that explains all these emotions you're going to feel over the next 10 years as your kids play these sports. So we go into it kind of raw dogging it of like, okay, why am I feeling this way at 8:30 on the Saturday morning at YMCA basketball? Why am I so anxious about this? and we're responding out of emotion and insecurities and feelings. And we can get into all this later if you want, but like, no one teaches us why these are there or like where they're coming from or what to do with them.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, first things first, we get into youth sports there's a lot of reasons why, but I mean, I know for me, I want my kids to learn teamwork, perseverance, discipline. I want them to have an athletic outlet. I want them to get off the couch and get outdoors and play with their friends. There's so many positive aspects to what youth sports provide. We could go on all day just about the positive aspects of it, but it's so easy to get lost because, again, as you alluded to, when you're mom and dad and you're sitting in the stands, you are rooting for your kid. There's the other team on the other side. There's ego involved. Is my kid going to be the one that hits the home run? Oh, he struck out. I'm embarrassed. I mean, that goes through people's minds. And I think also, too, we think about our own experience as a kid. And I don't know about you, but the number of coaches I had that yelled at me, I remember looking back, a coach that would chew us out and cuss at us when we were 10, 9 or 10. I mean, now there's no way you would think. But so I think we also are comparing, coaching several decades ago to coaching now. We've learned so much more since then. What have you learned since your time as a kid growing up about, hey, here's how some ways we can do this better from a coaching perspective?
Before I even get to the coaching perspective, I want to talk about something you just mentioned before that, and I'll get to coaching if you're good with that. You mentioned how we sit in the stands and we're like, is my kid going to hit the home run? Is my kid going to strike out? And on the surface, most of us would say we don't care about that. That's the answer we're supposed to say. I don't care how good my kid is. I just want them to get out there and try and give a good effort and have a good attitude. That's what we're all taught we're supposed to say. And when someone asks, that's the thing we say. But all of us have inside of us these two natural human emotions called self-love and self-glory. Self-love just means we want other people to like us. Self-glory just means we want other people to think we're good at what we're doing. And that goes back to human evolution with the cavemen, because we're designed to protect ourselves so that we can survive and thrive. And way back when, we wanted the other people in the caveman group around us to think we were worth protecting when the other caveman came across the hill to kill the village. We wanted everyone else to like us and to think we were valuable. So that's a human condition piece that is ingrained in all of us. So where that plays out that we don't realize a lot of times is we're sitting there in the stands and we think, hey, if my kid hits the home run, more people are going to like me. Or if my kid hits the home run, more parents are going to think I'm doing a good job as a parent. Or if I put my kid in the extra lessons and my kid gets really good, people are going to think I'm doing this right or I'm doing this better. And we never use that language because it's deep within us. But that's what's driving so much of this. Like when we walk off the basketball court and parents start congratulating us for the game our kid, like my son in soccer this past weekend scored a banger of a goal. It was a goal kick. It was bouncing. He volleyed it in the air and it kind of it looped up. And it's one of those goals where if he's off by an inch, it hits the crossbar. If he's off by 2 inches, it goes fully over, but it was just right and it slid in. Is my kid that talented enough that he could place it there? No. He just happened to kick it just hard enough to get in. It was a great goal. If I could have taken a picture of his face and just printed that off for any time I needed a smile, I would have done that. But after the game, I had parents telling me, congratulating me on his goal. I had nothing to do with it. I was just as shocked it went in as everyone else was. but that feels good. And and if we're not careful, we can start thinking, Mark, I'm doing a better job because these parents are telling me good job because of my kid's performance. And self-love and self-glory are normal things. They're a part of all of us. They're always going to be around. They can protect us in a lot of ways. They can motivate us to do good things a lot of times. But when they get in the wrong spot, that's when we start doing things in the sidelines. And I can tie that to coaching, or I can answer what you're about to ask.
No, but the thing is, you're right. We all have these human nature elements to us. It is completely normal to,
Yes.
All the things you're describing, to want the win, all of that stuff.
And we're evolutionary designed to want our kids to be good.
Sure, yeah. And I think, like a lot of other things in life, it is learning to build up the callus to some of those nature elements.
And the toxicities in the
You could
dose.
extrapolate that to, you want to hit somebody when they make you angry, and you've got to figure, no, we don't, that's not how we do this. It's a muscle. You've got to train, and you've got to learn how to not respond to some of those impulses, some of those things that are part of us and serve a purpose. But I think you're spot on. I mean, this is a different direction than the coaching thing, because at the end of the day, it is some of that though, right? It is learning how to recognize, I need to practice pulling back, letting myself get carried away. But boy, that is hard when you're in the stands.
I'll tell you a story, and I shared part of this on social last week. I'm going to share an update on it this week sometime. But I have an assistant coach this year. He's coached with me a few seasons. Former Marine, former fire chief. So, and he's 10 years older than me. So he's almost 50 years old. So that tells you his background. We had a game a couple weeks ago where some kids on the team just weren't giving a good effort. And he, we've talked, the no effort drives him up the wall. And so he said some things a little louder than he should have, and about some 9, 10, 11-year-olds that he shouldn't have said. And we got into it on the sidelines. I told him he had to, I basically almost kicked him out. If he couldn't shut up, I was going to kick him out. To his credit, the next day he called me. We had a long talk. He apologized. He even said he should probably step away until he figured out some of this emotion stuff. And I told him, no, I want you around. Just if you're willing to let me coach you too, I want you around. And this past weekend, because I told him, the point I was getting to is I told him, everything you said out loud, I thought. I've just probably had a little more training on emotional regulation than you have. And he laughed. He's like, oh, you absolutely have. And so he's recognized, it's some of this is just training and a skill that you build up. No one's telling you can't think some of these things. I'm not the thought police, but we should have the filter in place to say, is this productive? Is this loving? Is this kind? Is these filters to cycle through what we say. This past week, and this is the story I haven't told on social yet. On the sideline, he is being super positive guy. We give up a goal and he's cheering kids on to encourage them. He walked past me. He goes, man, this positive stuff sucks. And I lose it laughing. And I told him, a guy I coach with for my daughter's team sometimes, same age as him, comes from the similar background. We will walk past each other on the sidelines and just under our breath say the thing that we're thinking to each other to get it out. And when I told that guy this past weekend, I'm updating him on the story, he goes, yeah, because you look like a weirdo when you sit there squatting down, just muttering to yourself over and over with this angry face on. So it's yeah, these feelings are natural. These thoughts, I'm not even going to say they're wrong, but there's a time and a place to say them, and there's a way to say them that is productive. And so I just think a lot of us haven't either had the training or taken the time to figure out, is there any other point in my life where I would say this about a 10-year-old? Is there any other avenue in my life where I would say a 12-year-old sucks?
Oh man.
No, there's not. So if that's the case, why do we feel justified because sports or competition is involved?
Well, I think part of it, and this is the coaching point I was thinking of earlier, is because that's how we were coached. Most of us had coaches who yelled at us and got on our case, and that was just coaching. And I think we know now, hopefully there's some nuance there. And, one of my things is anybody can yell.
Yeah.
Anybody, it does not take any insight into coaching to know how to yell, but to know how to motivate a kid and connect with a 10-year-old and help him believe in him or herself and all of those other things, that's hard. And that
that same coach last night at practice, We were doing a warm up, so the kids were doing a drill. And like, we weren't super involved, so we're sitting there talking. And he comes up to me, and goes, I've been thinking about it, and like, I don't know why I reacted that way at that game. Like, I really do agree a lot more with you than I thought I did. Like, and then we're talking, I'm like, I think it's effort. He goes, no, it's totally effort. Like, he goes, nothing makes me more angry than someone not trying. But I look at him, I was like, I also think you've been told your entire life that winning is what matters most. So on the sideline, you're battling this internal battle of, I've been told winning matters the most, but I actually don't feel like, I don't care if my kid wins this game at 11 years old. Like, I want him to go out and try hard. I want him to compete. Like, if the results don't go right, so you're feeling this internal thing of like, I really, like, the results isn't the most important thing to me, but I've been told it should be. So until you take the time to actually deconstruct that and be like, no, like, I want to compete and I want to win and I want my kid to win. But at the end of the day, I just want them to try hard. I want them to want to win. I want them to go out and give the effort. And if they do that, then I can be happy about it. And so he is now at 49 years old, for the first time ever, really thinking, do I really care about the result of this game? Or is there something else I care about? And he's coming to the conclusion, all I care about is effort and attitude. Like, if these kids go out and try, if they do their best, like, I don't care if a shot goes in. If they mess up, that's fine. And he's saying these things out loud for the first time. And I'm so, like, it feels weird to say I'm proud of a guy who's accomplished more than I have and who is older than me, but I'm so proud to see him go through the process of like, no, I don't believe that. I actually believe this. And if I actually believe this, then it changes my attitude here, so that now there are 12 kids on our team, one of them his son, that are going to have an even better experience with sport because he took the time to do the mental work to question what he thought about these things. And so it's not just him impacting his kid. Now, next year, if he's on a different team, because his kid might go to a different age group, he gets another group of 12 or 14 kids he can interact with. His kid goes and does other things. And so now this one man doing the work to figure out his emotions and why he's behaving in a certain way now has the impact of, like, how far does this cascade? Like, we don't know the impact, the butterfly effect or whatever, of one guy changing his approach. Like, what if his son grows up now and knows this at 22 instead of 49 when he's figuring it out? Like, how much does that change the world, the way his son interacts with the world for the 27 years before he gets to 49? Like, that's why I'm so passionate about this, is because we have the chance to make generational change just by fixing our perspectives and the way we respond to things.
I think going back to that original idea of like, why do I want my kids in sports? It is so they can learn those lessons. And I'm also a big believer that you learn more lessons when you lose than when you win. And I think what you're describing makes sense. I remember reading about John Wooden and his coaching style and who his, I don't know if it was his favorite player, but who he's most impressed by. And it was not Lou Alcindor. It was not, the guys that he coached that went on to have these amazing careers, Bill Walton, those types. It was, he said, I had a kid who was not a very good basketball player and he worked himself up to be a sixth man or whatever. So not even a starter, but it was that he worked harder than anybody else. And that's what he admired the most. And what's his phrase? You do all the other things, winning kind of takes care of itself. It was a quote about that.
Have you ever heard his definition of success?
Give it to me again, because I'm sure I've heard it before.
Success is the peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction and knowing you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. He said that in 1934.
Not wins and losses.
No. You made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. That is success. Yeah. And you might suck on the soccer field. I was not a good baseball player, but the things I learned from my coaches and from my teammates in baseball have led to who I am today as a 39-year-old. And the lessons I learned working for the football team in college still play out today. So am I ever going to be an elite athlete? No. Are my kids going to be elite athletes? Probably not. I know their genetics. But they can be successful if they make the effort to become the best of which they are capable at whatever they decide to do. And sports are one of the safest places for them to develop the tools they need to have that success, for them to learn how to fail and keep going, for them to learn what it means to be a good teammate, for them to learn that, hey, I can do something hard. For them, like, I have a kid on my team this year. I've coached him, I think, 4 seasons now. Super ADHD, great kid, probably the best ball skills of any kid I've coached at the rec level in soccer. And ball skill wise, he's incredible. Getting this kid to care is nearly impossible. Getting him to lock in on the field and try. It's just like, I've been trying for 3 or 4 years. And I tell him, I'm like, hey, I know how good you can be. I know how good you can be. He had a game this weekend, or he had 2 games ago. He did some things where he locked down someone bigger than him. Like this kid's running down the field and he's playing defense and stopping this kid every single time. And just the other kid's getting so frustrated because my guy's so much shorter, he's younger, and he got a little taste of, ooh, this feels nice to yeah. And this feels nice to be able to perform this way. And so this past weekend, he went out and played the best game he's ever played. And then he comes to practice last night and he's a little more locked in than normal. And I don't know what this kid's going to do in soccer. I have no clue what the future holds for him. Probably not much. I think maybe competitive levels. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's starting to understand how good it feels to do something well because you tried hard.
Yeah.
And that feeling is what's going to motivate him to continue trying hard for other things. And we're not chasing a level of success. We're chasing a level of satisfaction, knowing you've given the effort to do your best.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. Like, if we lose, like we lost Saturday and I loved it. We got down 3-0 and my kids were coming off the field. One of them was crying because he got upset that he missed a couple goals. He felt like he let his team down. And I told him at halftime, I said, if you guys go out and do this thing we're talking about and give your best effort, we can get back in this game. We go out, we score 2 goals, and we're pushing at the end to try to get the third, and we just don't get it. But my kids came off the field. Man, we were so close. We almost had it. Did you see that thing? Did you see that goal he scored? Did you see him run back and stop that other? Like, they were so proud of their effort because they gave it their all and they tried. And at the end of the day, what do we want? Like, is our performance what matters or is our effort what matters? And if we want to break it down to the coaching thing you mentioned a minute ago,
yeah,
Nick Saban has said it best when he said outcomes are a distraction. We have no control over the outcomes. We can play a game perfectly and the other team just play 1 millimeter better. And we lost. All we can control is our effort and our attitude. And so if we go out and we do the things we're supposed to do, like the high school baseball team I'm a part of, we're in the playoffs tonight. And really young, we're starting 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores, like only have 2 seniors on the team. So it's a road game on the playoffs. We can win. And we were talking yesterday at practice. I was talking with the other coaches. They're like, if we go down there and do everything we're supposed to, and they make one more play than us, that bus ride will be like, we won't like it, but that bus ride home, we understand. If we go down there and crap the bed and we make mistakes and we run into outs and we make errors, like there were 6 games this year we lost by 1 run because of errors and walks.
Yep.
I don't care about the game we lost 9-5 where the other team just flat out beat us. It's the 6-5 game where we gave up 3 runs in an inning because of an error in the outfield that would have been at the 3rd out of the inning. Like, so it's not necessarily performance. It's effort. It's, are we doing stupid stuff? Are we not trying? I don't care about, I care about the result. I don't not care about it.
Sure.
But what I care more of is, what are we doing to get that result?
Well, and I mean, again, you're right about the result in that. Like, it is nice when you put forth the effort to get the reward of the W, but it is
Yes.
not the only reward that there is. And I remember as a kid playing, different youth sports for the Y or whatever, and they wouldn't keep score in some of the leagues, and that was so annoying as a kid. Now, as an adult, I have a better understanding of that, and I really wish we had an age threshold below which we didn't do it. I remember having this conversation with a parent one time because there was a scoreboard up on the coach pitch outfield, and kids are scoreboard watching.
Right.
And I said, I wish we didn't have that. And I remember the parents saying, well, they need to learn to win and lose. And I was like, they have their whole rest of their life to learn about the wins and losses. I'd love for them to learn the order to run the bases in. I would learn that. I would love that to be the focus right now, because we can figure out, we're 6, we'll be 7 next year, and 8, the whole rest of their life to figure some of those things out. And maybe that's part of this is, when you're coaching and you talked about your assistant coach is, you think that this is about this when it's really about that.
Right. If you haven't stopped to think about it, you don't know.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I'll use a tangible example. My rec soccer club used to do a 1-day end of season tournament. We did this 2 seasons in a row. And we stopped it because parents and coaches weren't handling it very well. And when we decided to stop it, I remember one of the coaches, because one of the examples I used was that I had kids on my team who were worried about mistakes in game 2 impacting how they were going to be in the tournament, where their placement was going to be in the tournament. And so they weren't going out and playing freely in those games because they were worried about how it was going to impact the tournament, or they didn't want to try a new position because they were worried about we might lose this game and it hurts us in the tournament.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're watching, that's the tournament, the trophy from where we won. I put it back there like it's a joke. Like that's what we got for winning a tournament. I don't care. Yeah. It's like, but this guy asked, he's like, so do wins and losses not matter? I told him the way I described it was, no, like we want kids to compete. We want kids to want to compete. They're going to keep score regardless of if we keep score or not. Like more often than not, my kids know the score better than I do. But that game should end when that game ends. If we're truly concerned about the development of these kids in these, especially recreational, especially younger, I would say before like age 12, a lot of times, if we're really concerned about them learning the game and learning to love it, let's go compete in a game, but that game shouldn't have an impact on a full season. Because when it does, we move from development to competition and we start sacrificing things. We start saying that kid who's just learning baseball can't play an infield position because what if they make an error? So we're going to stick them out in right field and never give them a chance for something else.
And when will they ever learn?
When will they ever get the opportunity? Like because when they get to 13 and when they're on the big field, they're not going to get a chance there. Maybe that kid needs to play it badly for a game, for a couple innings, and learn, I actually want to get better at fielding ground balls. Maybe the failure of that is going to be what inspires them to ask their dad to hit them ground balls in the backyard. We don't know if we don't give them a chance. Maybe that kid who, I have a girl on one of the teams I've coached. She always wanted to play offense in soccer. Like never wanted to play defense. Last fall, I told the kids, I'm like, well, you're playing every position. And she got so mad at me when I put her in defense because she wanted to play offense. One game, she was just very emotional in offense because she wasn't getting the ball. She was very frustrated. I pushed her back to defense. And I told her when I did, I was like, I'm not punishing you. I just know the way your brain is working right now, you need to go, you need a change of direction. And because she had played defense a couple of games before that, she knew what to do. And she went out and murdered the ball. No one got past her that game. She even made a run up the sideline where there was, because I always tell, if there's grass, go. She made a run up the sideline in U12 recreation soccer where she carried the ball from the back all the way up the field, got a cross into the middle that we scored on. And she never would have known how to do that had I not forced her to play it earlier. So I wouldn't have had a chance to keep her in the game based on her emotional condition if she hadn't done that before. And I probably wouldn't have had the chance to do that before if we're keeping standings for the full year because we're so worried about winning.
Right.
So if we truly care about child development and athletic development, we can go try to win every game. But we're going to have to move some kids around and give them some opportunities that maybe don't give us the best chance to win every single time. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's where there's so much nuance in this should we keep score debate. Like, their kids are going to keep score. They're going to know who wins. But do we put it on a scoreboard where it's open for everyone to see? Maybe we don't do that. Maybe we don't keep standings so we know who's in first place, who's in second place, who's in third place. Developmentally, from pediatricians and psychologists, they suggest we don't do that till 12 or 13. So why do we have the 5U T-ball all-stars in Little League? Like, what are we doing here? Why are we having 6U tournaments? Like, there's a level to all of this.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the reason, which is a whole different aspect of this conversation, is because someone's making money.
Yes.
So that's a huge component. Before we get into that, I do want to say, your content, and there's another creator, I'm going to forget his name, at Coach Baseball, maybe.
Coach Ballgame.
You guys maybe. Yeah, Coach Ballgame. Man, the number of times I've heard his voice in my ear when I'm sitting in the stands watching a game, and it has changed how I parent my kids that play baseball, because I remember as a kid loving baseball and getting my game picked apart as soon as it was over, how that felt. And, hearing Coach Ballgame talk about, positivity and encouragement, and that kid who has to look over at the sideline when he makes a mistake because he's waiting to get in trouble. Like, that's not what I want to foster.
So I'm gonna text Ballgame when we get off this interview. I'm gonna text him what you just said, and I guarantee you what I'll get back is "attaboy."
But please do, because it man, that stuff matters. And as a kid, it's amazing the stuff you remember, and I remember how that felt. And from parents and coaches that were just trying to pass along the knowledge, but maybe that, you got to lose the battle to win the war sometimes.
Right. It's all about regulating yourself.
So many aspects we haven't gotten to yet that I want to hit, because I talked about money a minute ago. You've talked about this. We've seen the headlines. Private equity getting into sports. You see how much it costs to play in some tournaments. You are seeing money be the driving factor in so much of this. And one of the statistics I saw that I thought was fascinating, the percent of kids, I think 70% now, the number seems to grow every year, quit sports by the age of 13 for a variety of factors. Maybe it's too much pressure from mom and dad, too much pressure on themselves, whatever. But when you look at this kind of select or bust mentality, the cost, the workload, all that kind of stuff, do you feel like it's out of control?
Yes. Before we get to the yes, I do want to update you on something. So the 70% number is what we've said for decades, but it's starting to get questioned a little bit because we don't really have a great source for that 70%. The CDC is, I think it's CDC, and there's one other organization, shows us that about 50% of high school students play sports. So it might not be that 70% are leaving.
50, yeah.
So it may be about 50-50. The working theory from some of the Project Play guys, Marty Fox, the working theory with some of those researchers right now is that it's not that 70% of kids quit sports. It's that 70% of kids quit most sports outside of their main sport by 13. And then by high school, it's down to about 50% are still playing. So to me, still too many who don't have an opportunity to play or who have walked away. But I always like to update people on that number.
No, that's helpful.
Just what I can.
That's helpful. But I think anecdotally, you see the pressure, you see the burnout, you see the travel teams. I remember there's an article that Dallas Morning News a few years ago about a kid on a select team. I don't even think he was in high school. He played in more games that year than the Rangers did.
Yeah.
180 games. The majors play 162.
And so I think there's a lot of things at play here. There's parents pushing kids into competitive ranks too early because they're fearful their kids are going to fall behind, which I have empathy for because in those Dallas suburb school districts, in the Atlanta suburb, in the Charlotte suburbs, when you've got 1,000 kids at a middle school and there's only 15 spots on the middle school baseball team, if Timmy, Tommy, and Tony are doing all this, you might actually fall behind and not get to make the middle school team. So like, I understand that pressure and I understand why you would want to do that, which gets us back to the question of it's a chicken or egg thing. I am of the belief that part of our problem is we don't have high quality recreation opportunities for middle school and high school students, along with a culture that says it's okay to play just for playing. Because we know when the culture is right, that playing to just play is okay, kids want to play because we see intramurals in college. Something changes from the 17-year-old in high school who's told, bro, why you trying so hard? Why in recreation, to the 18-year-old college freshman who signs up for slow pitch softball or for basketball. We just had a baseball player, I'm the PA announcer, and on senior night, the kids, like I always ask him, like, what's next? What he put in his what's next is he's going to be running the intramural courts in basketball at UNC Charlotte. So he's going to like he's looking forward to playing intramural basketball next year in college. Like we know these kids want to play. We know if we provide the opportunity and create the culture around it that they will play. But up through the 80s, you had intramurals in middle school and high school where, for those of you who don't know, you basically played either at lunchtime or an hour after school, where it was a recreation game with you and your classmates that some teachers oversaw. Parents weren't there. They weren't making it like, but you got to play with your classmates in a competitive environment because you're playing against your friends. And like, there didn't have to be a trophy on the line for it to be competitive. It's just, we're going to go out there, we're going to have fun, but we're going to play. That got cut in the 80s and the 90s and just disappeared by 2000. With that came a lot of like now teenagers don't really have a chance to play rec leagues in most places. It is now expensive clubs. And whenever I talk about this, people say, oh, you can do a club or you can play for school. Those are 5-day commitments a lot of times in school, or they're multiple. Like some kids don't have the capacity because they have to work or because of jobs or other things to say, hey, I can commit to I love this sport enough to commit 5 days a week to it. Some kids just want the opportunity to show up maybe at one practice a week, one game a week. Or maybe it's not even like intramurals. You don't really even practice. You just show up and play together. And so it's my belief, because there's no safe quality place for kids to play as teenagers, that pressure gets pushed into the only place to play is the school team. So if you don't make the school team in middle school, you're probably not going to make it in high school. So you're not going to have a place to play. So we have to do all of this work in second, third, fourth, fifth grade so that by sixth, seventh, eighth grade, you're good enough to make the team. So that you're good enough to be one of the top 5 to 10 kids in your grade.
And if you don't make that, then you're not going to get the full ride and you're not going to make the show.
Well, you're not going to get the full ride anyways. Like
but I think that's the thinking, is that, it just trickles down from there. It's always like this little kind of thing. Maybe.
I truly think most parents don't think the scholarship's in play. Like it might be a pipe.
You don't think even back in their head?
It might be a pipe dream, kind of like I'll buy the lottery ticket just in case. But I think most people understand. And what the data shows us is that as kids get older, most parents start to understand more. So it's the elementary kids whose parents think they have a shot. Once you get into middle school and high school and you start seeing the kids who have the shot, most parents are like, okay, my bad. And they realize it.
There's a big gap there.
That girl's 6'1" already in 6th grade. Okay, there's a difference here. But I think if I'm giving all of the positive ideas I can, I think most parents just want their kids to have a place to play as they grow older, because they know all the positive sports can bring, and they don't want their kids to sit around being bored. They don't want them to be at home on the screens. And the only available avenue right now is the school team or the expensive club team.
But let me ask you this, because I know folks who have, kids playing club volleyball. They're missing school for these travel tournaments. And, it's that idea that, well, if we're not on the club team, we can't get on the high school team. For those of you just listening,
I shook my head in disgust right there because that's stupid.
But it is that thing of, you've got some FOMO. If we don't do it, what's going to happen? We're going to fall behind. Or for some parents, it is that little voice inside you before that you talked about that feels good when your kid does well. If you're not on the select team, then you don't have access to that anymore. So, that plays a role for some parents too. What do you say to a parent who is considering, hey, listen, we have this opportunity to play on a travel team or a select team, but it's going to be this amount of money and this kind of time commitment. We're going to miss school. What do you do?
So I think two things. One thing I want to say about the school piece is I understand missing occasionally, missing a day, missing 2 days a semester. Like, it's no different than your kid has an early morning doctor's appointment. You let them play hooky in the afternoon. Like, they're going to be those times. I tell my kids, if you make good grades, the reward for that is maybe we get to leave on a Friday to go on a trip for a weekend. And we're not playing sports. So so I can't be super judgmental about that if someone's leaving occasionally to play sports. When it becomes an every other week thing, when your kid is missing a consistent amount of sports or a consistent amount of school for sports, that's when I believe it's stupid. So I think I want to make sure I clarify that a little bit. As for the question about we have these opportunities to do something, I don't remember where I heard it from. I wish I could credit them, but your values should determine what you do, not your opportunities. Mm-hmm. So what do you value as a family? If the opportunities in front of you align with your values, go for it. Ideally, those values are good values and things you should be valuing. Sure. But I know for my family, we like downtime on the weekends. We like not having something to do every single night of the week. So because we like eating dinner together occasionally. Because we value those things, there are opportunities we're going to turn down. Like I am not going to that playoff game tonight, even though I want to, because it's 2 hours away. I'm not officially a coach. And I've been out every night of the week the last 2.5 weeks for other stuff. And so I want to go, my daughter's last soccer practice is tonight. And she'd like me to come to it because we're going to go watch the high school girls game afterwards. She wants me to go to it with it. So I have the opportunity. I could ride the bus with the team, which I would love to be around those guys and those coaches, go eat dinner with them, go to the game, compete together. Right? As a guy, I mean, you're smiling because you remember those trips. Like one of the guys yesterday, I had this running joke with a guy who's pitching, and I was like, hey, 2 words, don't suck. So when I left practice yesterday, I looked at him and was like, hey, don't suck. And he kind of gave me, I was like, I won't be there tomorrow night. He goes, what? Why? Like, it's cool to have a sophomore in high school who was all district want me to be at the game because he likes my support and values the coaching I can bring. That's a great feeling. And but I value my daughter and what she wants. And I value my wife wanting me at home. So even though I have the opportunity to go be a part of this team, I had to say no because it didn't align with my values in this moment. If we win tonight and everything goes well this week, and will I go to the game Friday? Ask me Friday afternoon. I don't know. But it depends on what we have going on. And so I tell that story, and it's kind of like lighthearted, but we have to have our values lead the way, not our opportunities.
I think it's frustrating though, because sometimes the overlap is you end up with kind of a tough call, an impossible decision. The rec league.
I'm going to have FOMO. I'm going to be watching on Game Changer the entire time I'm sitting at that high school soccer game. I'm going to be watching the score.
But I know it's frustrating on our end. You've got situations where the league that the kid plays in, we had games on Easter Sunday. And I remember like, what are we doing? We're having games on Easter Sunday, or it's the travel, or it's whatever. And at the end of the day, you talked about the folks running tournaments where they know kids are going to miss school, and they're kind of faced with that choice because there's a lot of money involved. And they're making money hand over fist. I think I saw a statistic that said that youth sports this year, $40 billion in revenue, which is more revenue than the NFL makes.
Yes, and costs have risen
Baseball.
46% since 2019.
Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made, and it really creates the haves and have-nots. So I think that's where some of my frustration is, because we're presented with choices by folks who have vested interests. It's not like, hey, we want to get a tournament together for all the kids that want to play. It's like, and we're going to make a lot of money, and this is when it's going to be, and take it or leave it, and your kid misses out.
And so I know we got to get out of here in just a second, but
yeah.
I hosted a panel at Buying Sandlot, which is a youth sports business conference. And it was on recreation and offering like professionalized recreation, high quality recreation. And I asked the people on my panels, like, how do we do this? How do you guys make money without taking advantage of families? And one of the guys said, and I respected this answer so much, he like, if you go into this wanting to serve families and provide an opportunity and you make money in the process, that's okay. If you go out and see families as revenue streams and opportunities to make money, that's where it gets tricky. So it's like, I'm willing to pay for a service. Like, I think a worker deserves their wages, but are you seeing me as a revenue line, and how much money can you squeeze out of me? Or are you saying, hey, it costs me this much to provide these services, I have to charge this? Okay, I understand. Might be more than I want to pay, but I at least understand it.
Yeah. You were right. We only have a few minutes left. Biggest issue you think facing kids sports right now?
Cost and access. I think cost and access is probably the biggest. And other than that, I think it's, and how do I want to say this? An unjustified, I don't know if unjustified, and a wrong view of winning and competition. Or let me back, an incomplete view of winning and competition from parents and coaches. And
if you could give one piece of advice to youth sports parents, youth sports coaches out there, what would you tell them?
Let your kid lead. Like help them figure out their why, help them figure out what they want to do. And then so they set the direction where they want to go, and then you lead them on the path. Like you don't have to stand behind them, pushing them. Like, find out what they want to do and then show them how to get there, so that you're supporting their goals and their dreams and their desires. You might have to crack the whip occasionally to remind them of, hey, you said you wanted this. Do you actually want this? And then let them fail. Let them fail and learn from it. Like, don't pull them out of everything.
Man, I feel like we could talk for another hour or two. I really, really appreciate your time, Jonathan. Again, Healthy Sports Parents is where you can find all his content online. And here's to more and better youth sports for everybody involved, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it so much.